Good morning, everybody. My name is Wendy Bond. I'm the Director of Education for Lakme USA, and I'm here with Gina, our brand manager for Lakme. And today we're going to show you a couple fast techniques to do temporary fantasy color, because I really feel like for a lot of clients, they want to dabble in the fantasy color world, but they're not going to be totally committed. The one that we're going to show you with Technia Ultra will last approximately 10 days to 3 weeks. It'll last more like 3 weeks if they choose to use the shampoos at home. If they don't choose to use the shampoos at home, it's going to last about 10 days. The one that we're going to do with our demi color will last more like 6 to 8 weeks. And the nicest thing about our fantasy tones is that you're able to remove them completely when you want to. So let's get started. So both of the mannequins you're seeing now, I actually started at this sort of level 10 yellow. So both of them started out as pre-lightened mannequins, and both of these really beautiful looks were created just using Technia Ultra. So there wasn't any actual dye used. These are our color enhancing shampoos and treatments. And what I did was I painted on the Technia Ultras, which when you paint them on dry hair, they really can give you this beautiful, dramatic placement. And these mannequins have been washed several times. So I did almost like, today what I'm focusing on is like a watercolor technique, where you're either laying one color down and then putting another color on top of it, or putting one color over the whole head and then blending colors on top. So this one was a combination of our ultra red, the violets, and some copper. And then this particular one, which is one of our most popular shampoos, what you see as the silver base tone is our ultra clear. It's a really dramatic yellow canceling shampoo. It's good for blondes or gray-haired people naturally. And I did the ultraviolet treatment, which really is a bright, bright purple, but when you're just leaving it on for a short time, it doesn't give you so much dramatic deposit, especially depending on how you apply it. So I'm going to start with the mannequin again. She started out at the exact same levels, and it's about building your tones. So we're using our Technia Ultra products. These come in shampoos and treatments. I feel like the shampoos tend to deposit a little bit more tone than the treatments. The treatments I feel like are a little bit more, I don't want to say forgiving, but just, you know, they deposit in a way that it's just sort of a little softer. So when I'm painting on like contour pieces, I really like to use the shampoos, and then I'll finish with the shampoo on top. So we did write down our formula on the board. So again, we have our Technia Ultra Violet, which was the first bowl, the purple bowl. We have our Technia Ultra Red, and then we're gonna finish with our Ultra Clear, which is the one that's gonna give us that beautiful silvery blonde tone. So I really enjoy doing a lot of these type of layering of colors. So like I said, I sort of think of it as like watercolors, you know, having this blend of tones where you lay one color down and then you put another color over it to either soften it or make it pop more, and that's just depending on what you're going to do. So I'm just going to pre-section a little bit and just kind of go through and start to paint these pieces on. The reason I kind of like to pre-section is once I get the color on my hands, or kind of as I'm working through the hair, I just want to be able to go ahead and like drop a section, apply, drop a section, apply. So I'll probably take another little section, and then as I'm working around the head, just clip and unclip the hair. I don't like to say that I'm lazy. I like to say that I'm efficient because that's sort of how I like to view things. I'm gonna have a glove here and a towel just in case I need it, but the Technias really don't stain your hands a lot. They really do just more sort of, you know, they might stain it for a second, but once you wash your hands or something, they're gonna be fine. You can also just kind of like, you know, maybe I'll do one glove. I really am efficient, but I don't like to work harder than I have to. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a section, and what I'm gonna do as I apply this is you'll notice I'm gonna go ahead and start to paint it on and use kind of a hair painting technique where I'm going from a lighter application with a corner. So I don't want a big chunk at the top, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and blend down to the bottom like that, and then I'm just gonna drop it. If I want to, I can just wipe my fingers off on the glove. So as I kind of alternate the two, I can go ahead and just sort of play with the two and kind of work around the head that way. So you're going to see it's like a very easy way. As I'm sort of painting it on, I'm kind of using my fingers to kind of push the color in a little bit more. Just wiping a little bit off my brush. So yeah, so one thing that's really interesting about Lakme that a lot of people don't know is that Lakme, all of their products contain a lot of sustainable beauty. So they have a state-of-the-art facility in Barcelona. Lakme is owned by a third-generation hairdressing family. But what I love about Technia is the majority of the pigment you're getting is all coming from natural ingredients. So with our ultraviolet, we're getting the color from a lavender flower. With the ultra reds, it's coming from red coral. And Technia products, actually for being color enhancing, we have color enhancing and we have color sustaining with our color stay, but all of them have a wheat amino acid in them to help sustain color and keep the hair in excellent condition. Sometimes these color enhancing shampoos can make the hair feel kind of rough or coarse, or they have a funny odor. These actually make the hair feel beautiful, and they leave the hair really shiny. So again, clients are gonna love the way they work, and we love to use them again just for really fun temporary fantasy color or to enhance hair color. So you can imagine you could take this red and put it over like a level 5 brunette, and especially for your clients like that are thinking about, like they're like, oh, I want to try being red, and I'm like, do you really? Are you really sure about that? Because I don't want to change your hair with permanent color. Sometimes you know the ones I'm talking about. So, you know, Technia gives you an opportunity either at the back bar or to send them home with this red enhancing shampoo that they can just sort of be a temporary redhead, enhance their brown hair. But we do like to tell you that these shampoos should be prescribed because you can obviously see how strong they are, how much pigment they deposit. So while they'll be in your retail area, it gives you another opportunity as the professional to go ahead and sort of prescribe the products. The other thing that's amazing to do is I generally don't sell people two of the same. Like I'll sell somebody the Technia Ultra Red and I'll sell them the Ultra Violet as well for the girls that like that kind of funky red violet. And it's a really beautiful combination. Or for your more conservative clients, you can sell them the red and the Ultra Brown, which is like this beautiful brown shampoo that actually gets its pigment from cocoa. And it gives them like a chocolate brown, like sort of a dark chocolate color. It's really, really beautiful. So there's just so many ways to do these. So as you want this product to last a little more, see how I'm kind of just massaging it in with my fingers, sort of pressing it into the hair. And then where it gets closer to the scalp, I'm going lighter because I know I don't want that big blob of color at the scalp. I want that more concentrated movement to the ends. And then just as I work around the hair, I'll just keep dropping sections and randomly kind of picking them up and painting. So you don't need to feel like this should be something that should be fun, it should be easy, it should be very quick. We do have clients, so this Ultra Red over very blonde hair gives you like a beautiful pink. And like every year when it's like breast cancer month, we get a lot of even natural gray haired women. You can put this on their hair, put them under the dryer with the treatment with a cap for a few minutes, and where their hair is gray, they'll get these beautiful pink highlights. And again, you know, it's gonna last maybe 10 days, something like that. So it's a nice way for your clients that, especially if their hair is lighter, you can definitely try that fantasy color. And also, it's kind of a must-have for people that have fantasy color who are trying to maintain it. So I would think, you know, the Ultra Clear is good for blondes, it's good for anybody. The violets and the reds are great for anybody else who has more of a fashion shade. But we do have a lot of natural tones. We have the brown, we have a copper, we have a gold. So they're great little add-ons to keep at the back bar, a way for you just to, you know, offer something different. And you'd really be surprised, like clients are so open to having something that they can have temporarily to use in their hair. And I mean, you just wanna like, you know, obviously, even when somebody uses this product, say for, you know, the recommendation would be sort of as a regular maintenance product 1 to 3 times a week. You know, even if they use it 3 times a week for, you know, a month and a half, 2 months, over time, and I don't mean in a really extended period of time, over about 3 weeks, once they stop using it, eventually all the color will leave their hair. So what I like about it is it's a way to add a fun service to a client's hair or to maintain, you know, fantasy color in an existing fantasy client, but it doesn't build up on the hair. And as you see, I'm kind of going through, I'm not necessarily doing like a uniform pattern, like 1 red, 2 purple, 1 whatever. I kind of think that, you know, hair color, especially placement when you're doing something fun, should be a little bit more kind of organic and spontaneous. So if you notice, I'm sort of putting a little bit more red in the back, a little bit more purple around the top, around the front, and I'll probably switch over to the red maybe a little more as I get to the top of her hair. And everybody at work makes fun of me because they all know that I play with dolls all the time. So I love my mannequin heads because they don't talk back, they don't drive you crazy, they don't complain if you walk away and you leave them and it takes a long time for you to get back to them. And they don't care if you do this. If you stab them in the head, they're okay with that. Like, you can just be as mean to them as you want to or as nice as you want to be. But I do think, you know, the nice thing about having, if you ever do pre-color mannequins, you know, I love to leave them around the salon for my clients to see. You know, it's a great conversation starter. It's a great way for clients to be like, oh, what's that? I want to try that. Oh, could you do that color on me? So again, don't sell yourself short. You know, we're always looking for ways to upsell or increase average tickets or, you know, get a existing client to try something new. And having, you know, mannequins with either updos, braids, stylings, whatever you're trying to promote in your salon is a great way. And also put them somewhere where everybody can see them and change the mannequins out from time to time. Like, don't leave that same tired old mannequin sitting there forever. You know, it could be really kind of cute. You could have a feature place in your salon right by where you're going to display your Technia, and you could have 2 or 3 mannequins which you're going to rotate out. And one week it could be the copper, next week it could be the red, it could be something different. So as you watch, you know, it's interesting. Like, I guess you could call this balayage or hair painting. I tend to think of it as hair painting. If you notice, everybody teaches differently. I like to start right in the center, and then I walk the color up. So as I'm getting closer to the top of the strand, my brush is getting drier. So this drier application, whether it's with a product like this or whether it's with a bleach, is very forgiving. It can allow me to build, 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 and get more saturation, and then I might dip again and apply a little bit more color through the bottom half. But I'm a really, you know, I don't know, I've always been a person who likes to either start in the middle and fan up and down, and then my last application is always going to be more pushing it into those ends to get that brighter kind of look with the ends. So as I'm moving through our girl,
and what's some shout outs from our educators? We have
really?
Amy on here, we have Janelle, we have one of our influencers, Brianna, and Lindsay on here.
Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, all our girls that are saying hi, I really appreciate that. I know some of them are in much colder temperatures than we are, so I appreciate you guys waking up earlier and getting online and saying hi. And I do think, I wish they could talk because, like to you all on this call, because I literally get hounded from our educators and people in the field with how much they love these actual products and how much more we should be doing with Technia. So again, it's a fun little thing to try. So I'm going to keep kind of moving through, doing my application. I don't know if we have the other colors out, Lexi. I don't know if you want to show what the other bottles look like, if people are curious about the other shades we have.
So over here we have our ultras. So we have Technia Ultra Red, Ultra Copper, some Ultra Gold, and then down here we have our Ultra Clear, Ultra Violet, and Ultra Brown. And what's really great about the packaging is that each of these shampoos have an active natural, and that active natural is actually on the packaging, so you know exactly what you're getting, and that's really great.
And especially even if you look at the top line, you're going to see that our Color Stay shampoo, which actually, I forgot to mention, our Technia Ultras won as, what was it from Launchpad this year?
Yeah, we won a Beauty Launchpad Reader's Choice Award this year.
And it was for Best Color Enhancing Shampoo.
Yep.
And our Technia Ultras, our Technia Color Stay won for Best Color Sustaining Shampoo. And what's interesting about that is it shows you there's a sunflower on the bottom of the label, so it has a phytocompound, which helps prevent sun fading. It's talking about the amino acids and the ceramides that are in the product. So again, it's all a very natural, sustainable way to get to beauty. And to know that if you are putting some kind of dye on your hair every day or on your scalp, that you're using something that's very safe and very natural. So I'm kind of coming to a little bit getting close to wrapping this up. I'm going to keep some of these pieces very bold. And I sort of feel like when you're thinking about color placement, like whether you're doing balayage or whether you're doing something like this, again, you can do it any way you want, but sometimes if you are a little bit more thoughtful. So sometimes when I do a very bold placement, I'll just do less of them. If I'm doing more of a finer diffuse placement, I'll do more. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Sometimes you feel this need to fill up the whole head. And I would say, don't feel that pressure. Just feel like you want to put the color where you want to see it. If you want to make them bolder in the top, I'm not so much just looking at what I'm doing here. I'm looking at these other blank spaces and realizing that if I put too many of these darker red or darker violet pieces in the front, she's going to end up maybe not looking as pastel as I want. She's going to start to look a bit more solid, and that's not necessarily what I'm going for. So again, I'm just trying to pick the hair up as I go.
Do you have a favorite Technia Ultra shampoo or treatment that you like to use?
So about the favorites, I mean, honestly, it has to probably be the Ultra Clear, which is just our regular one for blonde or natural, or gray hair. Just because, so many shampoos that are made for blondes, you can't use every single day. I mean, you don't need to use it every single day, but it definitely doesn't build up on the hair, and it doesn't, it won't turn your hairline purple or anything crazy. So the Technia Ultra is just my really go-to. It's just such a great way to, as your blonde clients come in, even if it's not their day for color, when they're coming in for a regular blow dry, when you do the Ultra Clear on them, because you've got to wash the hair anyways, they're going to be like, wow, my hair looks amazing. What did you do? And you're like, it's the amazing shampoo I gave you. And by the way, you can use, you can buy this shampoo. So it's just a great thing to maintain at home. And in fact, I have a 12-year-old daughter who's, like most kids, her hair is getting a little darker. She won't let me color her hair because all her friends already accuse her of coloring her hair because it's naturally blonde. But I have to explain to her that she cannot hog the Technia Ultra Clear. Like, we have one bottle, it always ends up in her bathroom. She uses like 3 pumps at a time. I'm like, you don't need to use that much. So the Technia Ultra is my favorite. I don't know, Gina, what's your favorite for you?
I like the Technia Ultra.
But for you, I know you use some because you like to keep your hair sort of natural and...
Right, as a brunette, I love to use the chestnut at home just because it's a quick fresher up if you don't have time to, freshen up your color. It's a quick fix in the shower.
Yeah, and we really do find that, like, so many clients, if you have that client who is like a redhead at home, I love like cocktailing them. Like, I'll sell them the copper shampoo and the gold treatment, or the copper shampoo and the red treatment. So, whichever one you want to do, you can mix and match. And it really gives you this great way of like enhancing their color service. So many times your clients will come in and they'll say like, oh, I know I have my color done, but I'm going somewhere special. I really wish I could have it done again. And it's just like a little boost that they can do at home anytime on themselves. So it's very, it's just a great fun product to use. So we're gonna sort of finish up with this girl. And I'm just sort of smudging and blending as I go, and again, really pressing it back into the roots. And then as I get to my top section, I'll probably make my pieces slightly finer. So I'm thinking, I'll probably make them a little bit finer as I get to the top, this last panel, just so it's a little softer look. And you can definitely, most of the time I wouldn't necessarily ever think of like layering like this. I'm just doing it more for effect. But definitely, doing like one application of one and then layering on another color is really fun.
And do these shampoos and treatments stain the hair at all?
Stain the scalp or the hair? So
Yeah.
they don't, they won't stain permanently. So they do, that's what's nice. I think it's probably because the dyes are natural. They don't, I know what you mean. Like some of these color depositing shampoos almost like stain the cuticle layer. and they never come out. Like they just, they can fade, but you're left with this kind of pinky hollow kind of ring on the hair. And what I would say is they really don't. They end up being very, very forgiving, and really, really fun to use. And like even here, because I got that little like smudge, I'm just going to go ahead and blend those in and just kind of be like, oh, I'm going to blend this here. But you'll be surprised, like as they wash, they just look really, really beautiful and really nice. So I'm going to do my last panel on the top. And I'm just kind of looking at what I want to do. I'm kind of laying it over and trying to visualize. And I think that's a real plus sometimes. When you're working on your clients, we tend to look at them through the mirror. And sometimes you need to like walk around to the front, especially if you're doing balayage or something that's not in foil, and sort of look at where you're placing your color. Sometimes also, even if I'm doing foil, I like to step back and look at how much hair I have left out or how much hair is in the foil. And that's going to help me determine like, do I need to drop in a couple low lights? Do I feel like, there's more, balance to one side or the other? And like I said, I like it when color, I don't ever feel like it has to be symmetric, but I think it should be balanced. So I just tilted the mannequin's head a little bit over here so I could kind of get a little bit more angle.
Ty wants to know, how much would you suggest salons to charge for this service?
So it depends. This can be done, again, I would say if you're not talking as much as I am, I would maybe charge what I charge for a blow dry. You know what I mean? So somewhere between $35 and say $55, and I think maybe depending on what your price point is, you could either charge a little more and include the shampoo and the treatment if they're going to take it home. So maybe if they're doing the service and they're getting the shampoo and treatment, you give them a slight break. If they're just doing the service by itself, I would think probably what you charge for a blow dry. And then I think again, it really varies. I think I know where Ty is from, and it's a higher price point, and they can probably get away with charging separately for the blow dry. Maybe if you're in a market where you don't have that ability, you can go ahead and say, my blow dries are $35. I'm going to give you this Technia Ultra Fantasy color, and you're going to charge, another $30. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's always good to charge enough that you feel like your time is worth it, but it's nice to be able to make it a spontaneous kind of almost like service. Because I feel like this is fast enough that if your client came in with reasonably clean hair, you could just do this based on anybody and do it as an add-on when they were booked for a blow dry, and you made yourself an extra, $25 or something. So that's a nice way to think of it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do one or two more sections. I'm just kind of turning my mannequin to make sure that I'm kind of getting around the head evenly. Maybe doing one more little violet piece in the front here. I know that it can look a little scary, but again, it's going to be very soft. The other thing to remember about this technique is it looks like these streaks are going to be really bold, but the hair, once it's shampooed, it's not going to fall back in the same place. So again, it'll have a much more diffused kind of look when we're all finished. And I like to turn my mannequin or my client, so if she was not on a stand, if she was a real client, I would be turning my chair quite a bit. And the reason I like to turn my chair a lot is because it really does help me get that like 360 view so that I can get a really good feel for my work and how the client is gonna, perceive it and how it's gonna look as she wears it out on the street. So again, I'm just trying to work quickly, work around the head. Gonna just drop one or two more violet pieces in the back. So Gina, do you want to go ahead and grab Shayna and bring her over? So we're going to let this process for 10 minutes. If you were to put it under heat, it will last longer. When you use them in the shower, they talk about sort of 3 to 5 minutes. So 3 to 5 minutes is your normal sort of processing time if you're a client and you're just in the shower taking a shower and you're using one of the Technia Ultras. What I also like about these products is there are a few color enhancing brands where they tell you if you're using them, you have to use the shampoo, you have to use the treatment, you can't use one without the other. These you can do whatever you want. You can mix and match. You can use one without the other. You know, sometimes if clients are budget conscious, I just sell them the treatment. So it's a very, you know, customizable thing. And again, because these have these natural wheat amino acids and the treatments have the ceramides, they leave the hair, you know, really feeling amazing. So I will give my dolly to Gina to let it process. And we'll move on to our next model. Thanks. So everybody, this is Shayna. Shayna is the niece of a coworker, which is really nice that she came in to be my model. So she's like your typical client where she might have like heavy highlights. She's had some lifted her scalp in the past. And we're gonna do a root smudge on her. And one of the things that I'm calling it a watercolor root smudge because again, I love the fact that with watercolors, they're very forgiving. When you apply them, you know, you get one effect depending on how wet or dry you apply them. When you layer that tone, you can build your tone. So one of the things I find that people ask about a lot in classes is like, how do you do a root smudge? How do you make, oh thanks Gina, good job. So this will be the formula we're using. So when you do a root smudge, a lot of times they can be very unforgiving, or you think it came out great and 2 weeks later your client is knocking on your door going, you know, I'm tired of it, or it's a little darker than I thought, or it's a little bit whatever, can you make it this, can you make it that? So, you know, I like the fact that the way I'm going to do it is, it's definitely going for a softer root smudge, not a really hard line one. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put, when we talk about the step one, that color is going to go roots to ends. So I'm going to put on almost like the overall violety silver kind of color. We're going for this kind of like iridescent kind of soft violet color. So again, we're using our chroma silver, which chroma can be used as a direct dye. Chroma can be used as demi-color or permanent color. So I'm using our chroma silver. Let's show it to you in our swatch book. This one. I'm using chroma 02002, which is silver, with a gloss clear. So we have clear in all three of our lines, and then with our gloss, we're using our clear and gloss. So I'm using our silver, clear, and a little bit of violet roots to ends. And then when I do her root smudge, I'm going to use 822 and a little bit of the violet. So because I'm putting the overall color on first, it will allow me to have it be a bit more forgiving and a bit softer. And one of the things too, again, I think it's just about being efficient and not lazy to think about, is if you are using a cream color or even a liquid color and you know what you're going to do for your next step, second step, you know, sometimes like save yourself a trip to the dispensary. I've had my colors sitting here for a little while, and as long as I don't stir them or shake them, there's absolutely no reason you can't get them ready ahead of time. So again, you know, I consulted with my client first. I knew what I was going to use, but I chose to go ahead and mix it now closer to when I'm going to use it. Because I didn't want to have to be running around and mixing things at the last minute. And I do this all the time by myself. You know, I do it in the salon all the time because it works really well. So as I start my application, like I said, you're going to see she has a little bit of warmth at her scalp already. So the two colors I chose will definitely help. You know, they both have violet, they both have silver. And I'm going to be, you know, this is going to go roots to ends, but I will kind of make sure I get an even application as I work through the hair and kind of pull it through I'm going to do it almost like as if you were doing a retouch, where you're going to apply it first, drag it down over the ends after I'm all the way done, and then go back and do her root smudge. If you guys notice, as I'm applying, I'm using my tail comb to kind of help section my hair so that I'm not just flipping the handle of my brush around. I like to work this way because I feel like it's very clean, and for me, again, it's really efficient. And both of these colors, they have a really light, pleasant fragrance. Chroma has a plant-based protein called of5 technology. It's very, very conditioning. Chroma is our ammonia-free color. You can use it for permanent color or demi-color just by changing your developer. Chroma also has a blended base. So if you're covering gray, if the client has less than 75%, you don't need to add natural. If they have more than 75% gray, you're going to add 25% of natural to your gray coverage formula. But I find that, all of the Lakme colors have really incredible durability. And with gloss, it has a jojoba oil base. So again, our gloss color is super conditioning and a really nice product to apply. Very, very easy to apply, nice to use that way. So. The other thing that's interesting about Technia with the natural ingredients they use and everything in Lakme is that they source all their products globally, and they have their own research development and their own factory. So you're talking about a family-owned company that makes all their own products, does all their own research and development, and then sources the best possible ingredients around the world. So again, they're very, very into sustainable practices as far as like energy conservation. They have a lot of, the facility is largely powered by solar. They have a whole method of recycling water. So again, it's all about, sustainable beauty and also the actual ingredients, because we all know that, when you go to the grocery store or something, there's many different types of like olive oil. Do you buy the organic? Do you buy the cold pressed? Do you buy whatever kind you're looking for? So again, it's really something that's focusing on like the health and beauty of the hair for each individual. And really for the planet, like what can we do to keep the most environmentally friendly type of product?
And have you ever been to their factories in Spain?
I have actually been to their factory in Barcelona. Yeah, it's really, it's a beautiful place just outside of Barcelona, and it overlooks this like mountain range, and it's a really interesting company because it is owned by like a third generation hairdressing family. So, and it's privately owned, and it's just this amazing state-of-the-art facility. The grandson of the woman who started the company, who was a hairdresser, now runs it, but the great-grandson of the woman that started it, and his grandfather still comes to work every day, or he was like last time I was there, and it's just very impressive. They're very, very committed to what they do. They take a lot of pride in what they do, and Lakme is a global product, so it's sold in over 90 countries. So again, it's sold around the world, which is nice because it really works for all hair types. So they sell products in India and Australia and Asia, so it really shows you that we have these amazing ash tones. We have all different kinds of products that you can use that really help with getting that end result that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing this. Once I get it on through the new growth area, I'm going to go back and pull it through the ends, and then I'll be starting my root smudge, which again will almost be put on like a retouch. And as I work my way around the head and I'm doing my root smudge, I'm going to be dragging it down a little lower in certain areas to kind of give you that more, maybe a rootier feeling in the back, bringing it out further in some other sections. And I don't mind the variation. She has a little bit of warmth. She has some different older highlights mixed in. So that doesn't bother me. You know, I feel like it's just going to give more variation to our end result, because we weren't trying to go for that ultra fantasy color, you know, platinum blonde. We're trying to do this more as like a livable fantasy color, which is just going to be pretty and nice and interesting.
And for the people who aren't too familiar with Lakme, how did Lakme get its name? Like, how did the company get its name?
So it's actually the name of an opera. So the Carreras family actually owns Lakme, and Jose Carreras is the, again, he's probably in his 80s now. He's the son of the founder. So one of the three tenors, you know, one of the very famous opera singers is Jose Carreras, and his mother was the founder of Lakme. So she was the founder of Lakme, and Lakme is the name of a French opera. It's very, very famous. If you guys want to Google one of the famous songs from the opera Lakme, it's called The Flower Duet, and it's a very famous piece of opera. Like, tons of people have heard it. You're going to recognize it the second you hear it. It's been used in every kind of ad imaginable, from like British Airways to all different types of ads. So as I'm using our gloss, you're going to see it just like pulling down through the ends really nicely. It's very, very creamy for a demi color. You know, it doesn't run all over the head. I like to call it like slickwood. I feel like it's great to work with because you can apply it with your hands or a brush. So, Gina, I'm going to let you guys go watch our mannequin get rinsed while I finish this application. So you'll be able to see how much color has deposited already.
All right, so we use the Technia Ultra Red and the Ultra Violet for the highlighted pieces. Now we're going to move on to step 2 and shampoo our mannequin with the Technia Ultra Clear to enhance the color.
Do you need help holding?
Yeah, right. She has the shoulders. All right, so we're using the Technia Ultra shampoo. I'm going to give her 2 shampoos, and then we're going to follow up with the Technia Ultra treatment.
You can already see some of the yellow coming out of her hair too.
Yeah, so our Technia Ultra shampoo is for highlighted hair or people with gray hair.
It's really incredible how much even one shampoo does, but I like to double up on this shampoo. So Gina, sometimes I think you're gonna leave the treatment on a few minutes, right?
Yeah, so I'll leave this Ultra Clear treatment on for a few minutes, and then we'll blow dry her and show you guys the finished results.
Okay, so we're gonna go back over to Wendy while Gina is working on putting that treatment on. And so Wendy, what are we working on over here?
I'm still applying my base color. She has a lot more hair than I sort of thought, so it's kind of taking, I had to remix a little bit, even though I had hoped that I wouldn't have to, but that's okay.
So if you guys have any questions for Wendy or Gina, feel free to leave comments, and we'll answer them for you, and we'll be monitoring comments throughout the day. So Kimberly wants to know, I just had highlights and lowlights and they use Lakme, but I can still see my roots. Should she have bumped up my root color or smudged it? Tons of roots showing, not really happy.
So my question would be, obviously if you're not happy, I always think as a stylist, I always really wanted clients to come back and tell me to adjust their color. So I always talk about, like with my staff or students, that you don't really have redos, you have adjustments. So it sounds like that either she could have bumped your base, maybe she could have either added more highlights or tried to either, make sure that they were placed in a different way, so maybe so you didn't see so much root. We do a lot of base shifting or base bumping with Lakme, so I think that's a really good option. So definitely, I would say, whether you're a stylist and your friend did this to you, your coworker, whoever, always tell somebody that you're not happy and see what you can do, because you can always make that adjustment to fix it or to do something differently. But definitely, now that you're sort of there where you already are, I would say probably looking at bumping the base would be a good thing. And when we do our base shifts, a lot of what we end up doing is with something like an 822, which is an 8 ash, a green blue ash, and we'll do it with like 10 volume developer. But what I like to do is I'll mix them in advance. So I go ahead and let the base tone, mix it up 10 minutes before I want to use it, and then I apply it on damp hair. So even if you just had your highlights done, I would make sure that your hair was damp when you apply it. I would mix the color 10 minutes in advance, and then that way you're going to have time to sort of let that permanent dye molecule get rid of some of its lift. And then by the time you go ahead to apply it, you've got sort of like a 5 volume developer on that natural hair, so you don't get as much warmth at the scalp. So yeah, I'm just sort of, her hair's really sucking up the color, which is good, but I'm like, wow, there's a lot of, it's absorbing a lot of this color. One thing that's interesting about Lakme too, like all the Lakme products, all the hair colors always have, a very strong type of conditioning element to them. Again, it's all about sustaining your hair. So like if I'm going to color your hair, if I'm going to stress it, I'm going to go ahead and improve it while I'm doing it. So our lighteners, for example, have a wheat germ protein in our powder. This particular product, again, has a jojoba oil in it. Our regular collage color has a soy protein. So they're always looking at ways to go ahead and, do your job, do what you need to do, but leave the client's hair in the best possible condition.
Patrick wants to know if Lakme color is PPD free.
Yes, the Lakme color is all PPD free, and that's a really good thing to point out, in that a lot of brands now have 1 or 2 components that are PPD free, like maybe one section that's PPD free. What's interesting about Lakme is it's been around for 20 years, so it's a mature color brand, but it's not one of the ones that's like 50 years old, because so that they have the ability to have these amazing shades that you're going to like that are already PPD free, whereas sometimes different brands are going back and trying to reformulate their colors to make them PPD free. And it's a much more difficult process because people are already liking those shades, they're already used to those shades, and that's what they want to see. So again, it can be very difficult. So, and again, it's one of those things where if you're using an ammonia-free color or a PPD-free color, it's really important to go ahead and let your clients know. Tell your clients that you're using something that's PPD-free. Let them know that you have ammonia-free options. Because, half the times what makes me crazy is like when your client is going to Whole Foods and reading the color boxes and then coming back and asking you about, do you have this type of product? And you're like, yes, I have something even better. And yet they're still, reading you quotes from different magazines and stuff. So, it's up to us. Sometimes we just take all the tools we have for granted. And I think that's really important on our part to kind of remind them that, we have many different options for them. as far as permanent color, demi-color, and what these colors do and why they're better for their hair than what they're going to necessarily get sort of in an over-the-counter situation or something. Because people do, like they'll, you know, start talking about something they heard a commercial for or something crazy, and you're like, really? So again, I think it's a good thing to keep in mind.
So Ashley wants to know, what is the benefit of applying Formula 1 all over, then layering Formula 2 over the top at the root?
So it will be a little bit messy, but I'm doing it because I want to keep like a kind of softer root smudge. You know, I wanted something that's very kind of almost like a shadow, not really a smudge. So again, I'm just doing it because I want to be able to like drag some of those colors down into each other. I just want to be able to have, you know, a softer kind of root smudge. I feel like root smudges, if I could have done it, I could have possibly done the whole thing on damp hair, which, you know, maybe could have worked too. But when I do root smudges, I almost always do them on either damp hair at the sink or something like this where you're sort of blending the two. Because I do think like there's nothing worse than if a root smudge looks too hard. You know, if it looks not like a smudge but like a line of demarcation. So I think, you know, again, she had a lot of different porosities and banding and different things going on in Shayna's hair. So I wanted to just be able to go ahead and have something that would kind of be able to diffuse kind of all over. And that's sort of why I'm doing it that way.
So Amy just shared a story and said that she had a new client yesterday that had never had her hair colored without breaking out in hives. But Lakme Gloss was to the rescue, and she had no issues and was so excited.
That is a very brave story. I think I would have been like, I'm not doing that client. Was she your existing client, Amy, or was she a new client to you?
She said a new client.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing. That is very interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, Lakme color really is, you know, it does make a difference that it's PPD free. I mean, again, one thing to keep in mind is that if somebody has explained that they've had hives or allergic reactions in the past, you know, sometimes you might want to do a patch test. If you're not doing a patch test, then you definitely want to ask the client, you know, to sign an intake form where on your new client form where you get like their name, their address, their phone number, you know, it's always a good idea to say like, would you like a patch test? And when they say no, you know, that sort of releases you from any kind of liability. Because there is nothing scarier than when someone's like, oh, you know, I break out all the time, but I want you to do my color. So I'm glad that it worked out, and Amy's a very brave, confident. She's one of our educators. So I think that was, you know, I probably would have done the same thing, honestly. But I think that's good. So I've go ahead and got my other color on, and now I'm just going to go back and start to like work my root smudge in. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and sort of start to apply this at the scalp. And it's automatically going to give me a certain amount of like forgiveness. You know, and like I said, it will be a little bit messy, but I'm sort of okay with that. So, and once I get it, as I kind of start to work around the head, I'll also take some places where like maybe I'll go back at the very end and drag that down through little ribbons through the hair. So if you look, I'm going ahead and applying the root smudge to the hair. And again, this might be where like I'm used to using the brush comb kind of method, so this does really help you because this tail comb has a much finer point, and it also kind of helps me like separate the hair. So as I'm kind of doing that, I'm able to sort of separate the hair apart and kind of drag this down a little bit at a time. So again, my overall color was the chroma silver. A lot of the silver, you know, probably, mostly like sort of 50% silver, 50% clear, slightly more clear for the ends, and then just a few grams of the mixed tone violet in gloss, which is really, really beautiful. And it's just a really beautiful purple. It kind of has this like somewhere between like an iris color, like the lightest part of an iris, and kind of an iridescent color. Again, it'll give it a lot of like variation in tone by using the silver and the violet, which will be nice. And then for my root smudge, I went ahead and used our 8 Violet, which the 2-2s in the permanent line and in gloss, so one was a mixed tone, one is just what we call a 2-2, a violet, has a little bit more of a grayish kind of silver cast. So again, it'll be nice because it'll kind of enhance some of that, control a little bit of that warmth that she had left at her scalp. So it's 8-2-2 with just a little bit of the violet mix again. I really feel like, violet is just one of those tones that like a little goes a long way. We wanted to go ahead and keep some of the sheerness and have some variation in Shayna's hair. And it's funny, I tend to work, kind of side to side. So if you notice, like a lot of the time I'm going to be turning her side to side and kind of flipping her front and back and kind of going like this. One of the things I love about Lakme as a colorist is that you can intermix all these different brands together. So like I'm using Collage, which is one of our, I'm using Chroma, which is one of our permanent colors that can be made into a demi, and I intermixed it with gloss. So again, we really try to take that logical approach to hair color so that, if there's something we know you're gonna do, like bend the rules, break the rules, we're gonna go ahead and tell you can do it rather than say you can never do it because like, why can't I do it? Like if somebody tells you you can't do something, I think as a hairdresser, it automatically makes you want to try it. So. How does your scalp feel? Everything feels good?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so like I said, sometimes doing these overlays can be a bit messy. But I will say that, when you're done, it's like I'm just going to be very soft. I'm going to have like just that, almost more like a shadow of depth rather than like a hard line. And that's kind of what I was looking to do, is just kind of create more of like a softer, kind of almost like naturally when your hair looks a little darker at the scalp rather than this really hard line of like a root smudge. And probably once I get this on, it's going to process around 15-20 more minutes. We're going to be able to bring her back later today to show you the end result. And Gina should be bringing out our Technia Ultra Doll soon. You can kind of see that 2-2 is starting to like cool that off a little bit more and add a little more depth. And I do think, it's nice with the, one of the things that's really surprising with the Ultra Clear, which is the shampoo that Gina used at the sink, which is for blondes. We really forget, you think of like shimmer lights as like, that shampoo for blondes or grays. But again, it's obviously, or any of the other sort of yellow canceling shampoos, they don't tend to make your hair feel great, whereas ours are very, very conditioning and make the hair feel incredible. But the other thing that's really nice is, for some reason with like the Ultra Clear, like men really feel comfortable using it. So, there's this whole huge market of like guys out here who maybe don't want to color their hair, they're turning gray, they're going gray. So whether they have like that George Clooney kind of salt and pepper hair, it just makes their gray hair kind of very steely and kind of pop in a nice way, or whether there's somebody who's 100% white, it definitely is like a must-have as far as like taking that little bit of extra yellow off and allowing them just to have like a cleaner, brighter color. It's one of those things where like that is just such an easy sell. It's something where if you do it once, the results are immediate. Like clients really do see the results from like the very first shampoo.
And how often should clients be shampooing their hair with their Technia Ultras?
You know, it depends. Like, I think a normal client who washes their hair probably daily, it should be 3 times a week. If you're washing your hair once or twice a week, then it would be every other time. We do have girls that are really hooked on like the fantasy colors who are, you know, a couple of the girls that work here have like the red violets, and they'll use it every time. But like I said, it's funny, even when you use it if you use it every day for 30 days, if you stopped using it, eventually, and I mean eventually, like within another 3 to 4 weeks, it's really gonna leave the hair. And that's the most shocking part. Again, I think it's because of the natural dyes that we have in these products, that they don't stain the cuticle, they don't build up on the hair, and they don't really stain your grout or your shower. And I can tell you that, like Ashley's going, well, it can stain your grout or your shower, because it can, but I only think it's like if you don't rinse your shower right away. Like, you know, if you get, and even then it will come off with cleanser, but if you know, are in your shower using your red or something and you splash a little, just rinse it off the same day and it's like, it's gone. So it's very forgiving, you know, it doesn't come off on your hands or pillows or anything as you use it. So we've gone ahead and got our 1022 on her scalp everywhere. And now probably what I'll do is just randomly pick up a few pieces and just kind of like apply a little bit of this base color through the ends. And like, again, it's gonna be a very subtle effect. Both of what I showed you on the mannequin and what I'm showing you on Shayna are gonna be very subtle, because I am sort of smudging the two together. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm really okay with this being, you know, the color will pop, the color will be interesting. I'm okay with the root smudge not looking like a hard line. And I'm not gonna do this a lot. I'm gonna do maybe 8 pieces or 6 pieces around her head, where I'm just dragging some of that darker root over this. And it won't be really dark. It'll just give it a little bit more depth. Because obviously it's gonna dilute what I put on it's gonna be diluted by what's on the ends. So again, I'm just trying to have, you know, a little bit of variation that'll peek through Shauna's hair. And I think that Gina will be bringing back our mannequin soon. So if you guys are interested, anybody who doesn't, I know a lot of people watching probably have Lakme, but obviously, you know, we have a website, so you could look at Lakme USA. You know, there'll be a number there you can call. We can tell you where there's a distributor near you. If there isn't one near you, we can ship directly to you. But I will say these are like, the Ultra treatments really are, you know, by far the best color enhancing shampoo I've ever used. And it's not just the tone, it's the way that it actually makes the hair feel. And the fact that clients can use them every day and their hair will feel great, they don't build up on the hair, they're just very, very user friendly. So I feel like that's a really key thing.
And for someone like Shayna who's getting a color like this, what kind of maintenance would you recommend for her?
You know, we were talking about that. I mean, I think in her case, she wants to keep it, you know, she wants to do this, but she also knows eventually she'll probably go back to some type of blonde. I'll probably just solo the Ultra Clear, which is the one, the violet for the pale light for blondes or grays, because I feel like it's gonna maintain what we did, but without sort of making it go any deeper or long-term sort of changes. And definitely the Technia Color Stay. So the regular color enhancing shampoo that has the sunflower compound to just maintain the integrity of her hair and improve the condition of her hair would be my go-to.
And is our Color Stay shampoo sulfate free?
It is sulfate free. So I've just pulled a few little pieces down. I've gotten her a little bit messy, but we're gonna go ahead and I think Gina should be coming back any second with our modeler. We can go ahead and see where she is. Yeah, so I think, you know, it's gonna be nice to see the variation of, like, thinking back to like our first mannequins, you know, that we showed, you know, having these kind of diffuse tone on tone type of color, and then showing what we did here with Shayna, and as it's sort of developing, it's gonna be very pretty. Like, it's almost gonna be this really pretty, like an iridescent violet with kind of like a not a rose gold, but like that kind of mauvey violet that you get in hair so many times that blondes really like. You know, so it'll be a nice mixture of the two tones together. So I know it's like quite, we're waiting. I feel like I'm on like Jeopardy where it's like, you know, waiting for the answers. So just so you guys know, if somebody wants to see the original formula that we were using, again, it's the Chroma Silver with our Gloss 00 and 3 grams of our mixed tone in violet. And then our root smudge was the 8 Violet with 5 grams of the violet mixed tone. So again, just adding a little bit more depth at the scalp, and the silver to kind of make the little bit of warmth that she had in her scalp kind of cool that out as well.
So while we're waiting, here are some of the previous mannequins that Wendy has worked on with Technia Ultra, right? Yeah.
Yep, and this one was just a combination of the violet on that yellow mannequin, so just the violet. I didn't, in this particular case, I did very finer pieces, so I wasn't painting the violet on as heavy, but it started at that level 10 yellow. I painted on the violet shampoo, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I did a couple shampoos with the Ultra Clear. So the Ultra Clear has the ability to really control a lot of warmth and gives you this beautiful kind of like very pearl iridescent kind of control. The nice thing about the ultraviolet is, again, this one, it will never, whether you're using the treatment or the shampoo, it's never going to turn your hair purple. It's just going to refine warmth. So again, even though the shampoo is pretty pigmented, it's never going to make your hair go bright purple. It'll never make your hairline go purple. When you actually look at the treatment, it's interesting because it actually has mother of pearl in it. So it gives you this kind of very iridescent quality. So again, when you look at these particular products, it's telling you that we have this high affinity system. So it has the right molecular weight and structure. It's positively charged to stay in the hair. These both have wheat amino acids. The treatments have the ceramides. And when you look at the back, it's paraben-free, PEG-free, mineral oil-free. So again, very, very, you know, good for the environment, good for you. So it's a nice way to, you know, have a shampoo that's very effective, but also is just so gentle on the hair.
And what about this girl?
So this same mannequin started out at a level, you know, level 10 yellow, and I do really love the ultra red. You know, it gives you these beautiful pinks. So this particular one, I painted in pieces of the ultra red, also the ultra copper and the ultra violet, all on the same head. So same technique that I used on the first mannequin that we showed today, where I did like bigger, bolder pieces. It was kind of interesting having the copper and the violet in the head together because I was trying to keep them from touching. You know, so I'm like, oh, they're going to neutralize each other. What's going to happen? So I was just kind of careful with my placement. And then I ended up doing like that overlay with the ultra red shampoo. So again, I get in different arguments with people around the country, but I feel like the shampoos tend to have a little bit more pigment than the treatments. So again, I usually do my hand painting. You could do it with either one, but I tend to use the shampoos first and the treatments second, you know, rather than, but you could try hand painting with the treatments if you like. And again, it's this nice mixture of like, you can really see where the copper was, you can see where the violet was, and then where the red was gave you that really pretty enhanced kind of pinkish feel. And again, I have mannequins everywhere in my house. These ones are really nice. These are from Pivot Point. Her name is Alicia, and she is one of the competition grade mannequins. And what's interesting is this is actually yak hair. So many times when you get a mannequin that truly comes in white, if you read the description, you'll find out it's not human hair, it's yak hair, but it colors just like human hair. A lot of manufacturers use yak hair for testing. I mean, it's really great to work on it. You can heat it, you can cut it, you can do anything with it that you want to, and it just gives you a really great canvas to work on. So yeah, this is a really fun application. And with either of these, generally what you're gonna do is sell the person the shampoo or treatment that you feel like most goes towards this. So like this client, you would be giving them the Ultra Clear, probably to maintain it. This one, it might be the Ultra Red, but a lot of times what I'll tell them to do if they're trying to maintain this pink is to take their Ultra Red, like we do a lot of cocktailing, so they can either take the Ultra Red and dilute it with the Color Stay shampoo, so you can like dilute it, you can put like a dab of this in your hand and a few drops of that to kind of maintain your pink, or you can do, dilute the treatment. So whichever one you want, you're gonna go ahead and be able to kind of mix and match and play with. And again, we do like endless combinations of like the brown and the red, the brown and the violet are two of my favorite, and the brown and the gold are really pretty. So like these two are really pretty.
And what kind of color do you get when you mix the brown and the gold?
You get kind of like a caramel. So it's really great if you have those clients who are maybe like a 5, 6, or even a 7, because this is gonna lighten it up a little. Do you know what I mean? Depending, like maybe use the gold shampoo and the brown treatment, like maybe she's a 7, and maybe she's starting to look a little bit muddy, and she doesn't wanna be any lighter, but she doesn't wanna be any darker. That can be a really nice combination. And especially when they take it home, for that person, they're cumulative. So, once a week will be fine for her. Other people, it might be every other shampoo or every third shampoo. But, again, I almost never sell somebody the same two. I like to mix and match everything I do. The only two I probably sell the same two of consistently is the Ultra Clear, which is probably our most popular shampoo. The other thing I really love is our Extreme Clean shampoo. So we have an amazing clarifying shampoo. This one uses green tea and fruit acids. So it's green tea and fruit acids. So again, you have to realize there are a lot of chelating shampoos that you can buy. Some shampoos chelate more naturally, some use chemicals. So this one is using a completely natural ingredient. Again, fruit acids like alpha hydroxy, like the fruit acids you use on your skin. And it leaves the hair feeling amazing. And what's crazy is this is so gentle that I actually use it to take off my bleach. So like if I'm using not a highlight client, but like a bleach and tone, especially when you have had a lot of bleach on the hair and you're trying to rinse, and you're shampooing, you sometimes feel like you just can't get that residual last little bit of bleach out of the hair, and you're gonna have to toner and all this other stuff. So I'll do one shampoo with this, and then maybe my second shampoo with a regular shampoo, and I just feel like it gives me that cleaner surface without drying or compromising the hair. So, and this has this amazing, really clean fragrance. It's also good for people that have well water or hard water, and it's gentle enough that even if you had really terrible water, even if you were a redhead, even if you're a blonde, I would say you could use this once a week in your hair, and the benefit would outweigh the worry of like, is it gonna remove my color? Because we all know that those minerals can build up on the hair, and make the hair feel really, yucky after a while. So I can hear Gina approaching. I'm excited that she's coming back. So you can have our unveil. Ooh, really nice. So Gina is a better blow dryer than I am. I can give her credit for that. I could never do that blow dry. So thank you, Gina. You made my haircut look good.
I tried to do this fast.
No, you did a great job. Very, very nice.
All right.
What do you think about the outcome, Gina? Were you surprised?
Oh, I think
you
it
like
looks awesome. It's a nice soft look that's definitely livable.
And like for me, because I'm kind of a wimp with like fantasy color, like that's not necessarily, I have to say, my age range and my actual clientele. Nice blow dry, Gina, thank you. You were rushing, so that was just power dry. She probably needs like a spit on out, cool down a little bit, but you nice job. It's nice because it's just so soft. And like, yes, you can see where there's like the little divots or where the color starts and finishes, but I think the nice thing about that is that, walking your color up the strand so that it doesn't really bother you that, the color just kind of appears and that her roots are a different tone. I'm just using a little bit of our polish. So it's a shine spray. It's super light, has a great delivery system. So polish is great. It's just a very light product, puts a little shine on the hair, helps with like flyaways, great during the humidity. But yeah, let me grab a comb and we'll just like kind of section through this so you can see. But yeah, overall, I mean, you can definitely imagine that if you had somebody who was like, a level 10 blonde, you could do this on. You could take somebody who even had like, a really heavy natural highlight and just shampoo them with the pink or just shampoo them with the violet, or take some pieces and hand paint the violet or the red over those pre-lightened pieces and then shampoo them a couple times with the Ultra Clear. And you can see it's really, really beautiful. And what did we do? We left it on for 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes, and we left the treatment on for 5, and then I blew her out with our top 10.
Yeah, so top 10 is a really great, it's like a beauty balm for your hair. It's really great for people who don't want to feel like they have a product in their hair. And you can see, like, I sort of deliberately put more on the underneath and then sort of less as I got to the top and did sort of bolder pieces. But when she moves her hair, when the client moves their hair, that darker tone on the underneath kind of helps define the haircut. And yet it really is like the perfect blend of like temporary fantasy color. And especially if you have clients that have like teenage girls, and you know, again, obviously they have to have a light level, or you have to pre-lighten a few pieces. Could you imagine how much easier this would be to pre-bleach a few pieces in a person's hair that was, you know, maybe like a 5 or 6, pre-lighten a few pieces and then sell them the Ultra Red or something to take home, and they can keep refreshing those pieces as needed rather than doing the whole head. So this came out really nice. She did do a very nice blow dry. She looks much better than when I did her. So, so we have Shayna, who's gonna, you know, be rinsed off in a little bit and blow dried. So I think that we're getting close to being done. Yeah.
Yeah. So tune in later today to see
Come over,
Shayna's
Gina. Come say,
finished
come on.
look.
So you can check in later today. I'll probably get Gina to do the hard work and do the blow dry. But yeah, so come in later today. We'll have our finished results up, and this is going to be a feature that we're going to introduce now called the First Fridays, which the first Friday of every month, myself or someone else from Lakme will be doing a Facebook Live, and hopefully, you know, there'll be little things that you can use behind the chair every day. So thanks, guys.